What is up, everybody, and welcome to another Creative Smoothie. Listen, before I get into this, I just wanted to thank you for listening one more week. Every Monday and Friday, I'm trying to upload new episodes of this marketing podcast where I'm trying to show you different conscious marketing tactics so you can start your own marketing strategy, so you can handle your own content marketing, your email marketing, but also so you can run your business in a smart, automated way that is going to allow you to enjoy time with your loved ones and is not going to involve you selling your soul just to make a sale. So before I started the podcast, I just wanted to thank you for embarking on this journey as well. If you're listening to this, it means that you want to do better as a marketer or that you want to do better at whatever you're doing as a coach or as a professional, and you know that marketing can really help you, but you don't want to sound and act like all the other people. And this is something good because we're going to talk about this today, but marketing has a lot of power. Seth Godin says that marketing is our ability to cause and create change and transformation in society and in other people. Well, marketing does not always help make good changes. It just helps make changes. And we have to be pretty responsible whenever we understand the power of marketing and influence and persuasion so that we do not use it for the wrong benefits or for the wrong purpose. And what is right and wrong is a very fine line that everybody has to decide for themselves. I'm not here to tell you what is correct and what is not correct, but for me, amplifying messages of conscious people and projects, sustainable projects that help to do better in the world, help people and not divide them, those are the projects that I'm willing to help persuade other people, right? Those are the projects that I'm looking to help market. But I don't want it to be a very long introduction. It's already been 2 minutes. I try to keep this pretty short. Listen, today we're going to talk about cognitive bias. I don't know where to approach this, but basically I've been reading this book a lot. You probably know it. Influence, The Psychology of Persuasion by Dr. Robert Cialdini. He's a famous psychologist, and I think he was a psychologist. And he's appeared in many TED Talks and some videos online, so you probably know of him. And if you're a marketer or know anything about marketing or try to start marketing by yourself, chances are somebody has probably told you to read his book, Influence, The Psychology of Persuasion. And in Influence, there's about 6 characteristics of persuasion, right? So he teaches you that there are 6 main characteristics that are most likely to influence the way somebody is acting or the way somebody is taking a decision. And I do have to give this to him. He's not really giving you like a tool set for you to use and start taking advantage of people, although that's what many people did. Instead, he's trying to show you, hey, this is how big brands, big organizations, governments, and entities are trying to take advantage of you. And in the era of misinformation and so much division out there, and really the era of fake news, because there's so many different news outlets that are backed by private money that have interests, in an era where the truth and whatever is fact and what is not fact and what is opinion, in an era where all of those things are kind of like blended together, I believe that knowing how to protect yourself from the highly influential and persuasive powers of today is important, right? So what I'm doing today is giving you the secrets that marketers, advertisers, and anybody else in the business of selling or convincing people is using to convince people like you to take a certain action that you might not want to take. And you might ask yourself, well, you're a marketer. Why are you telling all of this? Dude, listen, I was in advertising and I worked in advertising. I'm going to get real for you. It might be a longer episode today, but I don't give a fuck. Listen, I was in advertising and I'm going to go way back. I was born in Romania, okay? I was born in Bucharest, Romania, a country that up until 1989 was run by a communist dictator, Nicolae Ceausescu. My parents lived under that, and I was always raised with a mentality of understanding that, you know, higher political figures, and not only political, but organizations, have very structured ways of running societies. Okay? Nothing is just chaotic. Nothing is just left to chance. Okay? There's very solid pillars on which societies run, and there's very solid pillars on which societies are broken, divided, split, and so forth. So why am I telling you all this? Because I was born in Romania. I essentially lived there for like 10 years, and then I moved to Spain, Barcelona, where I was joining a country that has more socialist characteristics, although it's not a socialist country at all. It's a capitalist country. They have certain socialist ideologies that have been brought from the past. And it doesn't matter, again, I'm mentioning politics just to like give you a understanding of where I've been culturally and what kind of systems have affected me and why I eventually arrived in the United States and decided to stay in the United States. So Spain had that as well. I mean, these guys have so many days off, and the way that they influence people is by making people very, very reliant on the government. And so as I'm growing up and I'm understanding a bit more how power works and how persuasion works and how influence works, I still have to learn a lot, but after 24 years of living, I'd like to say that I've caught on a bit to what tactics and techniques these higher entities and bigger organizations are taking, because I eventually arrived in the United States to study advertising and branding. That was 4 years of advertising and branding where I have learned all the necessary tools for persuasion, for attention catching, for decision making, for decision switching, for identifying thought patterns prior to producing some sort of work, like almost guessing what the people are thinking about before they even thought about it, trend predicting, and everything from A to Z as far as sales, persuasion, convincing, and influence goes. Because advertising has to do a lot with that. And I never saw it as something bad because, I was coming from Europe and I was in the United States, and the United States is a big consumer capitalist country where a lot of advertising runs and kind of brands are mixed in with the American culture and the lifestyle. Like, brands are very embedded in everything that you do, and buying and purchasing stuff is very embedded in your culture. And I came here because I was like, oh, that's the perfect place to do so, to help build brands and create good work. And my idea was I wanted to change advertising the way it was. Like, I wanted to change the boring old advertising that you see on TV and to switch it for more fun, more fun advertising that didn't seem like advertising. I was trying to create stuff that was an experience, not an advertising, because that's what I thought the problem was, okay? I want you to understand that I didn't just I didn't come to America to just do advertising, get rich, and that's it. I identified a problem that I saw, which is if you're going to interrupt people's time, do so with something that they're going to enjoy. So anyways, I studied advertising, and when I get out, I start working for an ad agency. And I'm not going to shit on them or anything. They gave me a job during the pandemic and I worked with them and it was cool. But the problem was that I started realizing that big companies didn't just stand for the product that they were selling. They stood for a billion other things, because the money that they received, they were investing in other causes, in other people, in other things. And so once I understood that the power that I had, right? I had the power of copywriting, of persuading people through words. I was currently using to make a corporation that had hundreds of millions of dollars, more hundreds of millions of dollars that they were going to spend on things that I never knew what they were. I didn't know what kind of social impact they had. And to be honest, the product that they had wasn't a need. It was a want. And it wasn't just something that I wanted to do with my life, right? So why am I telling you all this? Because as I grew up, I have started to learn that advertising throughout that year had to do a lot with interrupting people. Nobody liked advertising. I soon understood something that I didn't want to believe from the beginning, because again, I spent 4 years and a lot of money and time like just studying advertising. It was kind of like studying the enemy in a way, because I realized that advertising stops, interrupts, and annoys you. Even advertising that is fun, even advertising that gets you to participate in some sort of branded experience, still helps that brand multiply its message, right? So I'm not vilifying advertising. I'm vilifying the power that advertising has that is being used to share messages, projects, brands, and products that are going to make you fat, that are going to make you dependent, that are going to make you just not overall be a healthy person, or just products that you straight up don't need and are wasting money on. And I'm not here to change the consumerism mentality. America's great. That's why I'm here. I'm not trying to change it. I'm actually trying to be a better person and be a better citizen here. So this is why I decided that I was bestowed with this incredible skill. It's a high value skill to be able to persuade people to take certain decisions through words, through ads, through experiences. And so I decided this year, once I had some time to think, because my work permit didn't arrive, right? So I'm unemployed still for about 6 months. And that has given me a lot of time to think. I thought about it very much, and I thought that the marketing and advertising that I was used to and that we were using was trash, okay? And I'm making this long introduction for you because I'm about to share with you 6 points, 6 characteristics of influence that I've learned from this book that are directly tied in with cognitive biases. Now, cognitive biases are certain patterns of thought, or certain thought, thought patterns. So basically, there are thought patterns or systems of thinking that are invalid. They're not correct. Like they have certain, I don't want to read the Google description for it, but basically when you have a cognitive bias, it means that you're blind to something. You're blind, like whenever you're making a thought about, for example, voting for one party or the other one, whatever you start thinking of, in terms of what happened in the past 4 years, has very little relevancy compared to everything that you actually lived. So our memory and our way of thinking opens up these little loopholes of error that might happen because of different psychological characteristics that our brain and our bodies have. Okay, so basically in short terms, cognitive bias is ways that you can think about stuff that is not real, or it's not the actual thing. It's very hard to explain. Like basically looking at this glass and thinking that it's a glass of water just because we usually see water in it. What if there's juice? You understand? So that's an example of cognitive bias. Now, cognitive bias is just like, I like to compare this to like hacking a computer, okay? The way hackers get into your computer is your computer has different ports, right? Your camera, your webcam has a port. And if that port happens to be open, right, for any reason, you left your camera open, right now I'm filming, it's an open port. Whenever there's an open port, a hacker can find it and enter in your system and start reading everything that you have on your computer, accessing your files, stealing everything. Just like that, our mind has these open ports, and I like to compare them to cognitive biases. That's what a cognitive bias is. It's an open port in our brain that allows for misinformation or an invalid thought pattern to occur. And usually what this does is it leaves us open to outside influences from our friends, from our family, from ourselves even, because we have internal conversations with ourselves. When you have a thought, you can lead yourself through cognitive bias to an incorrect decision. So stop blaming other people for wanting to influence you in media. You're also doing that yourself, right? So these open ports that allow for hackers, which is literally me, a marketer, to come in and tell you the exact words that you want to hear to fix that little cognitive bias that you have and to take advantage of it, then you're leaving up yourself for basically anybody to influence. And I know I've been dragging this on for like 14 minutes now, but I wanted to give you this introduction for you to understand. This is very important to understand. This is how big brands and the government, not only not USA, I'm not naming any countries, I'm saying the government, the entity that rules a country, a nation, an organization, leadership. The people that are in power know these things. The advertiser know these things. The big brands know these things. The marketers like I do know these things. And most of the people choose to use them regardless of their effect on society, and I'm not going to be part of that. So this is why I'm here to tell you today. These are the 6 cognitive biases that also relate to the 6 points of influence in the book Influence, the Psychology of Persuasion. Okay, so if you read it, you understand there's 6 different influence chances or characteristics, right? 1, there's reciprocation. 2, commitment and consistency. 3, social proof. 4, liking. 5, authority. And 6, scarcity. right? You've probably heard about this whenever you talked about marketing. And I want for you to understand how powerful these things are, I wanted to give you an explanation as to how each one of these influential characteristics directly correlates to a cognitive bias. And this is very interesting. And I only chose a few cognitive biases, although we could add 3-4 more for each one of these persuasive characteristics. I'm just gonna call them persuasive characteristics, okay? The characteristics of persuasion. So the first one is reciprocation. Reciprocation kind of explains in the chapter how people expect you to do the same thing that you did it for them, right? And for reciprocation, there is a cognitive bias called action bias, which is the tendency for someone to act when faced with a problem or not, even when the inaction would be more effective, or to act when no evident problem exists, right? So how does this happen? Somebody tells you, hey, dude, you gotta vote for this person because if not, our kids are not gonna have a future. And you don't really have to take any action. You don't even have to vote, your decision. Or you don't have to vote the way they do. But because you're faced with somebody who has said to you, hey, I'm going to vote this way, you want to reciprocate and do the same. I'm going to vote this way too. So that's the first one, the action bias, okay? The reciprocation bias. When you say, this person has done the same thing, I'm going to do the same. Or I don't know if you've ever noticed, powerful people in a conversation, whenever they move their body language, the other person starts imitating them. This is a tool. Like when you're talking to somebody, start imitating their body language, and soon enough they are going to start imitating you. So that's number one, reciprocation. Action bias, the tendency for someone to act when faced with a problem, even when inaction would be more effective. I don't want to give an example of this today because I don't know where you guys fall on the political ideologies, but there's a lot of that going on today here. Okay. Number two, commitment and consistency. So people that are seen as consistent, that do the same thing over time, are seen as less likely to be crazy. Like in very raw words, like people that keep doing the same thing over and over, like, oh yeah, Vlad is a marketer, he does that every time. But when people change a lot, which is a human right, you have the right to change and the right to change your opinion whenever you'd like, regardless of what everybody else says. Whenever people change or switch up, you start hearing stuff like, you used to be different. Okay? So this is what I mean by the commitment and consistency persuasion characteristic. People expect other people to always commit and to be consistent on something. And because you don't want to seem crazy, you're going to keep doing the same thing, even though you may not be agreeing with it, like taking a shitty pay for an incredible amount of work, just because everybody else is doing the same thing and it looks like you're consistent. So you don't want to look crazy. You don't want to do something that's out of the ordinary. So that is directly correlated to the conservatism bias, which is the tendency to insufficiently revise one's belief when presented with new evidence. So even though you know that there's better ways to make money and better jobs, you don't want your family to know that you quit your job and you're now unemployed and you're going to do something different because your status is going to change and everything's going to change, right? So this is very powerful. Right, number 3, social proof. I actually believe that social proof is the single most powerful, influential characteristic when it comes to selling and advertising today and marketing. Knowing and understanding that other people have bought the same product and have had a positive experience for some people, for some reason, helps people take a decision. Like, oh, somebody else took this course that teaches you how to run better ads on Instagram, and they multiplied their leads by, 100%. Well, that means that I might have the same results, and if they had these results, I'd like to have the same results, so let me buy this. But the social proof has a false prey to the false consensus effect, which is the tendency for people to overestimate the degree to which others agree with them. And it's also like overestimating how likely your situation is to the other person. Maybe the other person had a completely different approach. Maybe they bought the same course as you, but spent double the time that you spend working on the content material that was presented to them. Or maybe they had direct access to the person with which they took the course, so maybe they had other additional resources. Or maybe they started with more knowledge than you did before the course, and so that's why they're going to have very different results to the ones that you would have. Or maybe your audience is not supposed to be marketed the same way their audience is supposed to be marketed. So just because somebody else says that something is good, it might not mean that you agree with them on the same level of that thing is good. It might be good for a different reason, or it might not be good at all. And it might seem that it's good because you two are alike, but it's not real. It does not matter. And this is used a lot. Let me tell you, 2022, most advertising, and if you want to succeed, this is clear as day. You have to do testimonial ads, reviews. People like to hear other people say, this product is the shit. This product helped me achieve this. This product helped me when I couldn't do this. Because people like to know that other people have benefited from something, okay? But that is the false consensus effect. Okay, number 4 out of 6, liking. This is also called the halo effect or the physical attractiveness effect, which is if we like somebody, if they're nice, and if they also happen to look nice, we tend to think that they have more power or more ability in some other area of their lives. Right? So people that look good, people that are charismatic are more likely to get a job because the recruiter or whoever is interviewing them can have a better chemistry with them. So although they don't have the best ability or the best interest, or even they're not even the best candidate by a mile, many times people that have this charisma, attractiveness, or niceness, kindness about them can simply get further, and we tend to like them more because of the way they are. But when we like them, we also tend to attribute more abilities and characteristics, positive characteristics to them that they may not have. And what happens? They can take advantage of that. So people that are attractive, people that are charismatic are many times seen in positions of power, like the president, John Kennedy, one of the most charismatic presidents of all time. He was the halo effect was his, like literally. No matter what he did, and good, bad, nobody would not a lot of people would doubt him because he was the president, he was charismatic, people liked him. So the halo effect, or the physical attractiveness effect, is the tendency for a person's positive or negative traits to spill over from one personality area into another when it comes to others' perceptions of them. Just because someone is nice and good looking, it doesn't make them more qualified in other areas of their life. That's what you need to understand, okay? And just because people sound really well articulated, even I do sometimes, but just because people explain to you things in a good way, it doesn't mean that they have your best interest at heart, okay? So if you're reading something and you feel like this piece of writing knows you and knows your problem and your desires, just know that somebody took a lot of time to understand you and your desires, your fears, and they're most likely trying to take advantage of it. All right, number 5 out of 6, authority. This one's self-explanatory. The authority bias is the tendency to attribute greater accuracy to the opinion of an authority figure, unrelated to its content, and to be more influenced by that opinion. Doctors' opinions, anybody? Science opinions, anybody right now? Anything that an authority tells us right now is seen as more accurate than whatever somebody with less authority tells us, even though that person might have spent, or that entity or that organization might have spent a lot more time than the authority figure trying to find the truth. Just because the government tells you something doesn't mean it's true. Just because your boss tells you something doesn't mean it's true. Just because a brand says that you need a certain product to solve a certain problem that you have does not mean it's true. We tend to listen to people because most of the people don't like to lead. Most of the people like to follow. There's nothing wrong with that, but please don't fall prey to the authority bias. Just because somebody has the power and the authority and the common agreement that they should rule the country does not mean, or an organization or a market, it does not mean that they want your best or that they actually think and believe in what they're telling you. Authority bias, okay? Number 6, the last one, scarcity. This one's similar to urgency. Simply put, humans place a higher value on an object that is scarce and a lower value on those that are in abundance. It's the same with time. Something that's more urgent has a higher probability of getting done on our day-to-day basis than something that's not as high urgency. So there's more time that can be that you can wait until you do it. So I mean, scarcity is one of the oldest tricks in the book. We have only 5 seats left. That's because you decided there's only 5 seats left. Listen, you can add like thousands of people on Zoom right now. Like, what do you mean 5 people max, for this Zoom course that you're giving? Nah, bro, you're just creating scarcity, right? So we have tendency to want something that not many other people can have, right? We want something, especially this new generation, we want stuff that's hyper customized for us and not that anybody else has. NFTs, for example. And so we tend to place a higher value on an object that is scarce. Like if there's a collection, for example, of watches and there's only 3 watches done in the world in that collection, it's a lot more expensive than a watch collection that has 10,000 versions of that watch created. Simply put, Bitcoin. There's a lot less Bitcoin, and Bitcoin is of a higher value. People are starting to put more money into Bitcoin. I know that's a bad example, but the scarcity of Bitcoin is created from the availability of buying it. So scarcity is not always saying, oh, we don't have many seats left, come join. Sometimes it's exclusivity, like, hey, anybody can get Bitcoin, but you have to do a series of things in order to get to there, which seems like you have less time to buy Bitcoin or whatever it is. I think this last part was kind of like off the scarcity topic, but I think you understand what I mean. Don't fall prey to there's only one ticket left, one says left. Plays in a lot with FOMO, fear of missing out. That's why I said the thing about Bitcoin. Bitcoin is not going anywhere. You can invest in it today, tomorrow, in 10 years, in 11 years. Anybody can invest in it, okay? It's not scarce. It's not going anywhere. So because of that, people tend to put a lot more value in the things that they might not be able to have in the future, okay? So those were the 6 ones. The reciprocation, which is action bias. Commitment and consistency, which is conservatism bias, the tendency to insufficiently revise one's belief. Social proof, which is the false consensus effect. The liking, which is the halo or the physical attractiveness effect. Authority or the authority bias. And scarcity, which is value on something that there's less of rather than more of. I don't like scripting this podcast too much, so maybe if you heard me think about something or saying too many is because I'm trying to bring this as raw as possible to you, because I don't agree with everything that's going on in the world, and I really think and I believe in conscious marketing, helping the people that are really trying to spread a good message in the world, okay? So how can we take steps to utilize better conscious marketing in order to help people? Because I know you're all asking, it's like, what should we do? Should we just stop marketing and promoting stuff? I don't think so. I do believe in conscious marketing though, and conscious marketing is the answer to what I just told you about. Conscious marketing is being the right opportunity for the right person at the right time. When somebody needs help for real and they know that you can help them, you don't need to recur to shady tactics or convincing or persuasion in order to convince them to like buy your stuff. You just need to make yourself very present for that person and to educate them on how you can help them. But you have to understand who you're helping, why you're helping them, and what are they going to achieve with your help. And first of all, do they even need help in the first place? Because some people don't, and we try to act like they do and convince them that they do need help when they don't. So making yourself and creating an attractive online presence is the beginning of that, okay? Making sure that people know what you do and making sure that people understand that how you can help them and who you're helping is a great way to start, okay? And you can do that through an offer statement. I help X achieve Y using Z. Or you can simply do it by listening to the people. Listen to what they have. Listen to what problems they have and try to solve it. Many times we have to use marketing and persuasion because we come up with a product and then we try to find the people that are going to buy it rather than finding a problem in somebody or someone or some project and then creating a product that's going to answer that problem. So conscious marketing starts at way before you think. It doesn't start once you have a product. It starts before you have a product. Find a problem first. Think about how you and your skills and the people that you're with can solve it, create the solution for it, systemize it, and then offer it to the people that have the same problem. People that have the same problem are going to find you if you have a good presence online, okay? Guys, please don't stop. Listen, I recommend to you, read this book. Read Influence, The Psychology of Persuasion, or find a summary online. These are great. The whiteboard, the summaries online are really dope. I love them. Find one of those summaries and understand this book, okay? This book, yes, it can be used as the tools of persuasion, but it can be used as the tools of fighting misinformation, fighting persuasion, fighting cognitive bias, and understanding what powerful tactics the people in power are taking in order for you to do what they want, whether it be political, whether it be businesses, whether it be people in relationships that are manipulating you. Understand your cognitive biases, and there's a huge list of cognitive biases. Just search list of cognitive biases. You can open Wikipedia and look at all of them, and just get familiar with the invalid thought patterns that you might have as a result of the priming and conditioning and just being a human being, okay? That's all I'm telling you. I'm trying to educate you on how to be careful about marketers, although I'm a marketer. And I'm doing that because I'm telling you there's a better way of doing it, and I'm hoping that you believe me by now, and I'm hoping that you want to jump on conscious marketing and stop using persuasion as your number one tactic of getting clients, okay? Persuasion is not bad. I'm not saying that there shouldn't be any persuasion, but persuasion that uses the human's most weak points in order to make them do something that they don't even need or something that's going to harm them in the long term is something fucking shitty. And I'm not down for that. And I'm serious about this, as serious as you can get. There's no more of that, okay? So in 2022, join the side that's going to be helping marketers and marketing get a better name for itself. Conscious marketing. Guys, that's it. I know today was a bit of a longer episode, and I hope you stuck through it all. But this is huge information that I really need you to know, and I really need you to understand and educate yourself on. You can have a different opinion than I do, but please just learn about this and then make up your own opinion, okay? Don't listen to me. Make up your own opinion, but do the education first. Guys, it's been an honor sharing this with you today. Thank you for staying until the end. Thank you for tuning in. If you received any sort of information or useful value, if you're taking anything from today and improving, I know that I ask this a lot, but if you just want to follow, rate, and like the episode, whatever platform you're on, just engage with this episode and share it with your friends, okay? I'm not going to run ads. I'm not going to try to monetize this podcast. I'm just trying to get the word out, and I'm trying to educate as many people on what real marketing is. So if you found something of value, please share it with your friends. Share it on your social media. Just post it on your stories. Or even better, when you're having a conversation with your friends about what podcast you're listening to lately, mention this podcast, okay? Creative Smoothie on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. Guys, thank you so much. I'll see you in the next Creative Smoothie. Peace.